she thinks it's a spider bite, like from a brown recluse or whatever. Her skin was like rotting off.
We're gonna have that in lecture today. We'll
I
get you
know,
saw
that's
that.
why I mentioned that, because I don't even know what a spider bite looks like.
Okay.
She's mad at me right now because I made her go to the doctor last night.
Well, what did the doctor say?
I don't know. She didn't talk about
okay.
it, but I just know that they tried to numb it, didn't work, and they ended up cutting her skin open for whatever reason.
Okay. Relief pressure, I guess. I don't know. Can y'all hear me on Zoom? All right, so here we go. So it's a good topic because we're going to cover it toward the end of lecture today. So yes, on the ER visit, most of the time it's Staph aureus, which we talked about in micro for everybody with Preston, is that we have Staph aureus presents as spider bites usually. It's sore, headed, swellings, don't know where this came from, and we cultured it, ends up being staph. Hopefully they cultured it before they cut it open, so they'd know if it was staph or a spider bite. But Staph aureus can do the same.
It was black.
It can do the same thing. It might not be Staph aureus, it might be who. What else do you remember turning black in a skin infection because of strep pyogenes too? So you can have strep infection. So probably needed to culture it just to see, and hopefully they did. If they didn't, just have to go with the spider bite diagnosis. All right. So this is our medically, as you see, important arthropods from the phylum Arthropodia. The phylum is divided into 5 subphylums, and 3 contain the most medically important arthropods that we know: the Hexapodia, the Chelicerta serrata, right? Chelicerata. Is that right? Who are my spider fans? Is that correct? Am I saying that? Chelicerata. No spider fans? And then Crustacea here down at the bottom, which we are very thankful for most of the time, right? Myriapoda, the centipedes, millipedes, and the Trilobita morpha, primitive marine arthropods. So all this is informative for you. The most important takeaway here, which notes are coming, so don't fret. 80% of the diseases are from the phylum contains 80% of animal life, and members cause or transmit 80% of the diseases. So these little critters that we call critters, major importance to agriculture, destructive also. So something about arthropods is that we talk about metamorphosis, which they change in their life stages. You're very familiar with that. So, so maturation, maturing. We have incomplete metamorphosis, and this is where we go into 3 stages of the life cycle. We don't get to do all 4 stages. So like heme, a half, metabolus. The nymph, you may have heard of nymphs before, or miniature adults. We see nymphs with, when I think of nymphs, I think of ticks, right? Because if you go out this time of year, you may not get an adult tick on you, but you may get nymphs, you may get little ones. So instar, nymphal form, molts, nymphs resemble smaller versions of adults, and we see examples of lice, kissing bugs, and the arachnids. So this is incomplete metamorphosis here. You know, grasshoppers are probably going to arrive. I don't know if y'all remember, but most springs, there seems to be one member of this phylum appears, and appears very heavily, appears in great numbers. And I don't know about what it was about my hospital where I worked, but it seemed at night, maybe just because it was in DeWitt and the Delta, is that they all seem to gather around the doors and windows. So we would have them, entering patients' rooms from the windows. Think about, grasshoppers and crickets, I think frogs. It just seemed to be like every spring there was some new invasion. And I don't know what that was all about. Never did a study of it, but we're getting close to that time of year again. We'll definitely see these here. And we'll give you two. And you got the notes. All good, just fresh off the press. So the notes are definitely a lot smaller than the actual slide. That's a lot bigger. So let's keep going. And so if you go through a complete metamorphosis, the holo instead of heme, metabolus, you have 4 stages. So we'd actually go from the egg to the larva to the pupa to the adult. Here you get a complete metamorphosis because we see now we have the, as we say in our terms, the maggot egg, larval stage, pupal stage, and the adult stage. So what is medically important about arthropods? They act as a parasite. We can do that. We've known that. We've seen that throughout our lectures so far as the vectors. They may be a parasitic arthropod on the patient, like a lice or mosquito, flea. They all are known as vectors. I think you're very familiar with that term now. And if we control the parasitic diseases, often by eliminating the vector. So if we take out the ticks, the mites, the flies, the mosquitoes, the lice, the fleas, we decrease our chance of ending up with a disease. So most of the time it's mechanical transfer, infecting the organisms from their feces or contaminated soil to food, by their feet, mouth, biting, laying eggs. You scratch, you become mechanically transferring, implying no further development or growth. Like our flies that transmit our entamoeba histolytic cyst. They can be biological vectors. An essential stage of growth development occurs in the insect, meaning that once it's in the insect, remember, like taking a blood meal, then there is developmental things that go on in the insect. They can be transovarial, from adult to offspring, where the parasite penetrates the egg in vivo. So now we get to some names. Sarcoptes scabia, the scabies mite. The disease is known as mange. See this in dogs. In humans, the disease is called scabies. So if you want to think about what scabies looks like on your patient, think about maybe an old stray dog that you encountered. Do y'all still encounter things? Like when I think of encountering, like I would leave the house early on a Saturday morning and I may not come back till it was dark. Do y'all still do that kind of stuff, or did you do that when you were kids? So you encounter, what I'm saying is you may encounter stray dogs during this time period, right? Because I used to see how far I could ride my bike, right? So the beginning of the day was how many miles could I put on my bike? So I would ride everywhere, down gravel roads, dirt roads, that kind of stuff. I'm sure I'm probably lucky to still be here, but I don't know if y'all get to do that anymore, because I know my kids don't do that. My kids don't leave the house and don't come back till dark, right? Are y'all the generation your parents knew everywhere you went, or you didn't leave the house? Or did you leave the house and stay out till dark?
I mean, I left the house, but not staying out until dark.
I mean, like a group of friends just We just
Yeah.
disappeared.
My parents
We-
are strict.
We would figure out lunch. We'd figure out where we were going to get something to eat, you know, and it wasn't organized like, oh, it's lunchtime. Let's go see what my parents are doing. I didn't do that. Anyway, sometimes as we reminisce about us being young, back to our adult mites, they enter the skin, they dig burrows in the upper layer of the dermis. Okay, so we can recover them from skin scrapings. The eggs are found in those burrows. Newly hatched larvae excavate new burrows, so we got a lot of construction going on here. Activities and secretion cause intense itching, the appearance of small vesicles on the skin surface, and transmission is direct contact with another person with this. So yes, we don't need personal contact because you may get scabies, right? Wasn't that the joke? Like, ooh, we called them cooties or something, you know, they had other names, but of course we were told, you know, our way of staying away from other people. It could be their clothes, bedding, yeah, right? Through an infected domestic animal, like the dog that comes up and you're like, oh, it's such a sweet puppy. Look, it's something wrong with it and I want to pet it, and you end up getting infected. So you diagnose it by finding adult mites or their eggs in the skin scraping. So we do a potassium hydroxide wet prep. So we have you know, this may be one of the few life cycles we have today, you know, our CDC infective and diagnostic stage, you know, hands, different areas of the body. They like to be in crevices and warm areas. You see the adult here burrowing into the skin. You see the eggs hatch, releasing larvae, molt, and we keep continuing on. The female a lot larger than the male, and it continues until it's treated. So here's a picture of the little guy. These look like where we're going to hang on. This looks like a head up there. Here's even better pictures of a stain of our little scabies mite. Here's what it does to your skin. Those are the vesicles, the breakouts in the different areas. So have y'all seen a dog with mange before? Okay. You know, this look here, right? So that's a burrowing in. You can see it making a tunnel, kind of like our, you know, our moles in my yard like to do. And there's a very dog suffering, loses hair and becomes pretty pitiful. Of course, humane societies, this is where they perform their magic. They can get this dog and hopefully get it treated and get it back to healthy. Human infection of mange, again known as scabies. All right, so that was our scabies mite, and then we have this Demodex folliculorum hair follicle mite, and this parasite lives on the hair follicles and sebaceous glands in the face, but rarely elicits a reaction. Disease possibly associated with acne. So here's a picture of our Demodex. It's like a club hammer, but I see little feet right here. We have chigger mites. Who's had chiggers? Yay, right? If you got out of the house and you went into the woods and, right, maybe your first adventure into the woods since you were got out of the house, you ended up coming back with chigger bites on your legs, really scratchy. So this is here, this reminisce here, a little, here is to the chigger, the bug that is no bigger than the head of an undersized pin, but with the welt that it raises, sure itches like blazes, and it's where the scratching comes in. Hope you appreciate that. So chigger mites, causative agent, the larva of the Trumpicolude mites. 6-legged larvae are animal ectoparasites. 8-legged nymphs and adults are predators of other small arthropods or their eggs. So this, what you didn't know, maybe this is informative of the lecture, is the parasite does not burrow into the skin nor suck blood. They attach to the skin and they feed on tissue juices. And after feeding, they engorge, right? The engorged chicker falls to the ground where they continue to develop into nymphs and adults. Saliva injected by the mites produces an intense pruritus and severe dermatitis seen as red lesions. The pruritus may lead to sleep loss or scratching, especially if you're covered up with them, right? And leads to bacterial infection if you're scratching because you get the staph and the strep infection. Since it's got 8 legs, there he is. That's a larva on maybe a nickel or a dime. Sorry. Adult chigger there to the left, the larval chigger, you can see a lot smaller. That's why you don't know you've gotten into them. So here's the demonstration of it latching on, feeding on tissue juices. There's your chigger bites. All right, now we start the fun of always that lecture when you start scratching and feeling every itch on your body, because we're going to talk about head and body lice now, which is definitely a issue. Pediculus humanus capitis, head lice. Came and did the high school tours. We always have this out. Poor personal hygiene, but not always. I mean, you can be the, oh, I do everything I'm supposed to do, and I went over to a friend's house, and you know the story, slept on their bed, their pillow, and I came home with head lice. So it's definitely, and I think we've talked a little bit about it. We think that it's one of those medical emergencies. You must go home, get treated before you come in contact with any other humans, right? And it's not really that way. We came to find that out as a college student, ended up coming to class with it. And we thought we could ban that person until we got it taken care of. And we were told by student services that it's not considered a CDC emergency. It's not considered contagious. Thus, you must let them hang out in class until if they'd like. So, just so you know that rule. So don't go screaming to administration if you hear of somebody that's ended up getting this. Of course, we're all like in fear of this because it's like, oh my gosh, now we gotta treat it. It is treatable, but it is treatable to the point where you have to get rid of the nits and the little small eggs out of the hair. So you have to comb after treatment, right? I'm not going to ask anybody to raise their hand, but you put a head covering on, you treat that hair, kills all that, but you still have to go through and comb out all that. I don't think she's listening. I don't think she'll ever know, but my niece got it when she was like, I don't know, 12, right, from school, and she had this long hair. Oh gosh, it was just tragic, right? Because she had to go through that and do it, but we did it and got through it. Nits are small, glistening white, can be seen with the naked eye. So you see the nits, usually the hairdressers, the barbers, they see the nits in the hair. Nothing more than a surprise, right? You go to get your hair done and your hairdresser goes, have you been scratching or itching? Because I see little white glistening nits in your hair, and we probably have to end this haircut right now because I cannot contaminate all my stuff to give it to anybody else. So some funnies here of the nits, which is if you've ever gotten it or know somebody, it's not funny. I don't mean to make light of it. The nits can fluoresce, so you can put UV light, really see it really good. You shave your head, you don't have to worry about lice. So we see this development. Here's the nit attached to the hair shaft, and as the first nymph comes out, there's a second nymph, third nymph, adult male. So these will be moving. So the nymphs don't move; they just glisten. But the little nymphs or the adults will be moving on the scalp, and that's where the itch starts to occur. Searching, looking, removing. There we go, right? We're all up in there trying to find them and get them. There they are hatching out to make it look evil, like an alien coming out of the nit, but that's what they do. There they are attached. Nit. Disruptive hair loss. Very, very life cycle. Now we got Pediculus humanus, which is the body lice. So this was, we did that video where they put those down on them, and they went to different areas of the body because that's what they knew to do. So transmission of both head lice and body lice, direct contact. Lousy individual, their clothes, even their clothes cloth covered seats like theaters, railway cars, buses. I don't know if y'all ride Amtrak, right? Buses, taxis. You ever think of that? When you hop in and you lay your head back, take a nap, airplane ride for hours, right? Lice are sensitive to body temps, and they will leave the host who has a high fever. So they don't, if you're sick, they're gone. So maybe something to think about. You want to induce illness when they have an infection. I'm sure it's been done. I'm sure some people were like, hey, maybe I'm thinking a day in the sauna, like go turn it up, go get in it and sweat them out. So some really gross pictures of these little fellas. Theris pubis, pubic, crab lice, the crab infection, got crabs. I've heard that statement before. Genital region. I mean, there's the name, crab lice, right there. Pubic or crab lice. Body area is the genital region. They're shorter, broader than head and body lice. So they're shorter and broader, fatter. They possess powerful legs. They attach to the hair. Entire life cycle is spent on the host. Transmission, contact with infested persons or their clothing. So you see a little squattier, muscled up little guy here. Myiasis. You ever heard of that? Myiasis. This is an infestation with fly larvae. Myiasis. Okay. I had an experience. I don't know. I don't think we were having class was it last semester when the stray kitty cat that I took to the Humane Society, when was that? I don't even remember doing that anymore. Scooter? Yeah, I've heard the story of Scooter. Okay. Well, Scooter was a black kitten in my neighborhood that somebody thought had been bitten by a dog. So I went to investigate, right? Because we have this private Facebook page. You can find out everything about our neighborhood. So I went looking and I heard the kitten, and it was kind of hanging out in the mouth of the drain in the street, right? That's where it was kind of hanging out. But when it saw me, it ran across the street. Luckily, I'd had kittens at my house, but I'd given them all away. But my mama cat was investigating my movement, and she went to where I was, and the kitten came out. So it wasn't a wild kitten, but it had this nasty, smelly thing around its neck, right? So went home, fed it, put it on the Facebook page. Hey, got the kitten. If it's anybody's, come get it. This is where it is. And one of my neighbors is over the Humane Society. So she was like, oh, I've already called the Humane Society. I told them you'd be bringing it tomorrow. They're waiting on it. Da, 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 da. So okay. So I head out to the Humane Society, and the wound on the neck was actually an infestation of fly larvae by a bot fly. So a fly had gotten on that kitten somewhere, wherever it was hanging out, and actually had laid eggs on the neck of the kitten. And he had scratched his scooter. It was a boy. He was a black cat, and he had scratched it in. So it was a wound of smelly, awful thing. And when we went to the Humane Society, the vet was there to see it, and he just pushed it out, and it was a full larvae. We have pictures of it. Share with you. It's on my Facebook or Instagram one. But it came out of the neck of the cat, the kitten. So that's all it was. So definitely be careful with this story, because this can happen to your animals. And they usually see it, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I used to see those on rabbits when I was a kid. And, yeah, we've had cats and dogs with that before. I'd never experienced it, but so we see this. So some flies require a host for the development, and there's opportunistic. So the infection occurs when the eggs or larvae are deposited on the host body. So predisposing, open wound, right? Scratching around the neck. A lesion may attract certain flies, lay their eggs, and they do enter in. So so what are some of the myiasis? Specific, caused by a host for development and therefore habitually parasitized animals. So this is the human bot fly, Dermatobium hominis. The female females do not lay eggs directly on the host. Say that straight, not to fool you. She catches a blood-sucking insect. So this, right? What are we doing here? The biting fly or mosquito or tick, and glues her eggs onto the underside. Okay, so the female, when it gets to an insect, carrier insect then lands to begin to feed on warm skin. The eggs immediately hatch. The larva drops onto the new host, penetrates its skin, eventually a painful lesion, and the larva leaves the host. So here is the Dermatobium hominis. So this fly is catching other insects, laying her eggs on them, and then they take the eggs to the host. Somebody has a lot of time, right, to watch that. So these evil looking things. Ugh. So there we are, that's a human, right? And we saw this where? We saw this on our video with the lady that went on the vacation to the island and came back with that in her head. Remember that, in her scalp? And that's what it looked like when it was kind of appearing in the wound. So we see these things, ugh. Right? And what they do, they covered it up and smothered it. Remember that? Covered it up, but that's what was in. That's what looked like what came out of my kitten's neck, right there. The cocoon, right there. All right. So now we have the Cordialobia anthropophaga. Anybody want to try that one? Cordialobia anthropophaga. The Tumba fly. How about that? All right, let's just go ahead and go with the Tumba. The Tumba fly, this is the African myiasis. The eggs are laid in the soil. Not good, right? Right, from contaminated feces or urine. The larva attached to unbroken skin as you walk through the dirt without any shoes on. Penetrate, produce this furuncular swelling. They mature and leave the host. So what they do is they want to get into your feet. We have sheep bot flies. Ostrus ovis, causes ophthalmomyiasis in humans. The larvae are deposited in the nostrils or around the eyes of sheep and goat. So if that's what they normally would do, we can actually be infected. Okay, we're not sheep or goat, but you see it got in the corner of an eye around the nasal bridge into the corner of the eye. Four spot flies, Gastrophilus species. So these are all different, like, hey, the horse spot fly, right? So these are the fly. In humans, the larvae wander through the skin, mimicking cutaneous larva migrans that we just saw this unit. Eggs are deposited on lips, skin, or hair of horses, penetrate the skin, are swollen, causing gastric or intestinal myiasis. Screwworm flies, Cochleomya hominivorix. Anybody ever wanted to be like an entomologist or anything? Like went down that path, like you started as a botany major, you know, or bug major. It's really good. I mean, I'm tell you, one of the people I met that did that, they became like the chemical expert for a farm. Like they knew what to spray to kill different insects because they had a degree in females deposit their eggs on unbroken skin or wounds. The larvae burrow into the healthy tissue. Of course, the screwworm fly, you would think that. This disease is particularly dangerous, becomes vigorous. Larvae may enter the middle ear, so getting close to the brain, right? Never good there. Yes. FYI only here. And we say that, but you know, I don't expect to see anything with these, but you just never know sometimes. Green bottle flies, blue bottle flies, black bottle flies, the blowfly, myiasis causes species which normally lay eggs in decaying animal vegetable material. So we just kind of move on because I know you're just waiting on the spider lecture part of the lecture. Oops. Did I mess up something? Where was I? There we go. Sorry. I hit it real hard and it jumped. House flies, accidental myiasis, nosocomial myiasis, bedridden patient with an open wound or sore. Right, we've all heard the horror stories. Right, home health patient, go home, go pull back, start checking wounds, and you end up seeing myiasis where larvae are there. Shigo flea, Tunga penetrans. Here we're in the Americans and Africa and Far East. The female flea feed on blood. They burrow into the skin under toenails and between toes. Her eggs develop. She enlarges until she protrudes from the skin. So we have some really gross pictures here, right? Those are flea burrowing wounds. So then we get to what you've kind of been waiting on, bites and stings. So we have bee stings. What we worry most about with bee stings is anaphylactic shock, somebody that is sensitized to bee venom. We have black widow spiders, Lactrodectus mactans. That's our black widow spider. Have anybody ever seen a black widow spider? Yeah. Medium-sized spider, shiny black. But when you turn them over, right, they have the red hourglass underside. The bite of this spider causes an acute pain at the site. Symptoms usually occur within 20 minutes. The bite can be painful, debilitating, often causes pain in your chest or abdomen. You can have other symptoms. We can have headache, anxiety, painful cramping, numbness, nausea, heavy sweating, salivating. More than half the time the black widow bite is dry, meaning no venom is transferred. So got a 50-50 chance to get bit by a black widow of not becoming seriously venomized. They're very dangerous for small children and elderly. And there's the old black widow. Red hourglass underneath. So it's hard to miss this one. But the brown recluse, right? Old. Now, when I hear brown recluse, where was? Oh, I remember where we had a brown recluse. You know how you have auditoriums and you have graduation ceremonies? We had brown recluses one time in the actual auditorium, so we had to like treat it, right? So old like areas, old clothes been hanging in the closet, boots, or you always hear the boot stories, come in contact with a brown recluse spider. So it's long brown body with fiddle-shaped markings. So usually, I say usually, like if I stuck my foot in a shoe and got a very sharp pain, I would kind of think it may be a spider in there. You may get a story of, oh, I think I have something must have bit me. I'm getting this soreness on my arm. The bite of the spider is fairly painless, but later mild severe develops accompanied by erythema, vesicle formation, and itching. Sound familiar? This is frequently followed by chills, headache, and nausea. The initial lesion, and usually what they do is they'll mark it, and then if it starts to get bigger, they know it's ulcerating and getting necrotic. And unless treated, continues to spread for months. Treatment should begin at once. Okay, so you need to find out if they're treating your sister's spider bite.
They did a culture on it.
Did a culture, good. Okay. The bite of the Chilean recluse spider may result in kidney damage or death. Spider bite. There's the brown recluse. Okay. So here's some pictures. We got them in color. So, but I don't, I just see this erythema moving across. Necrotizing would be turning black, but it could be strep or staph too. Breakdown of the skin, blistering. That's all I have. So we'll just wait on updates from Cadence on the brown recluse possible spider bite. She's on your sister. Scorpions, right? Anybody from the Southwest? Arizona, Texas, right? Maybe.
My husband's done mine.
There's a scorpion. The scorpion, the reason I went Southwest, 1,000 deaths in Mexico. 75% of the victims are children. Tick paralysis, ticks, toxicosis. Dermacentor andersoni, the wood tick. And we're familiar with the tick stuff. That's because you're from this area, you've grown up with ticks more so than scorpions. American dog tick. Thing about ticks is you usually know because they've stayed on, right? They've latched on. Removing the tick, things not to do. Things not to do: do not twist, poke, squash, or burn. Do not smother tick with any substance. So what you want that tick to do, what I do with mine is I want it to, once it's released, I want to see it still active. I want to know that I got it off and out, and it's you know, gotten everything out of the attachment, and then I kill it. But with kids, I always ziplock them too, because I always keep them in case they keep, you know, because we can take a tick and we can actually check a tick for things. It's one of my best favorite classes, probably when I got tapped to do this, was we had parasitology. And that's where, when I think y'all inquired about what we may do some afternoons in a virology lab, we may do some parasite field work. Because I've always wanted to do that. We just didn't get to do it last year because we got sent home. But we actually took a white pillowcase and attached it to a string, you know, clipped it on, and then we drug that behind us as we walked through grass and a trail. And then if there's any ticks in the area, they get on the white pillowcase, and you can actually find it a lot easier than you getting on you. And we can do that. So that's kind of the things we're going to be thinking about when it warms up one afternoon, the sun's out. We want to just walk around campus for the afternoon. All right, we're winding down, right? So, federal, state, local experts have documented tick indigenous to Asia is currently residing in the United States. So this Amorphosalus longicornis is a tick indigenous to eastern China, Japan, and Russia, or East Korea. And it causes a hemorrhagic fever. And in 2017 and 2018, the tick was detected in New Jersey. So we know Connecticut, right, with Lyme disease. And since that time, there's other states, and you see the big A right here, is always going to be presented with ticks. I don't know why, they would just like ticks. And it's been discovered here. So when we think about Borrelia burgdorferi and Lyme disease, there's other conditions presented by ticks that may or may not be Lyme disease, but still could be harmful and still cause fever and still cause issues that the ticks do. All right, so we're going to finish up with butterflies, moth, and caterpillars as our last little section. When you think of butterflies and moths, you're not thinking of anything, but we always let them land on us. We pick them up. We let them walk all over us, and some of them can be, right? Especially when we think about these caterpillars leading to some poisonous hairs, and they actually irritate our skin. So don't want to pick this one up. This is a saddleback caterpillar. Oh, he looks so just fascinating. Let's grab him and pick him up. As you see, definitely causing some issues here. This one, oh yeah, this one looks like a plant. This one's on a plant. Fire ants, we're experiencing that, right? Painful stings, yay. I think we're all familiar with fire ant bites. There's the fire ant queen. And there's the worker ant. And they tear up your legs if you get into a mound as you're walking through your yard. That's it, right? Classic blister head, white head to them. I found that if you go ahead and get rid of that blister, it heals up faster. So that's just kind of the way I treat them. I go ahead and knock that off and let it start to heal. Entomophobia, that's the fear of insects. The patient may be disturbed because of that, having crawling sensation, especially after a lecture like today, and they've seen all these pictures. Not to say you have that condition. All right. Okay, so that was it. That's unit 13. Put up the quiz shortly so you can start getting ready for the test on Friday. So the quiz will go up today. You'll have it due, but it'll stay open so you can study all through Friday and Friday night, or how long you want to hang out, make it last. The test will be due at midnight Friday. So no class Friday. We will have lab tomorrow. And that's it. Y'all got any questions? Okay. All right. We'll see you then. See you later, Zoom.